Hello, my name is Robert Lemings. Today we're going to talk about the three modes of heat transfer as it relates to our garden. First mode of heat transfer I'd like to start out with would be radiation. Basically all radiation is the sun shines down onto the earth and it transfers heat via the radiation, which also would relate back to the sensible heat flux, see? And as that states, would be the transfer of heat between the atmosphere and soil surface. The next mode of heat transfer I'd like to talk to you about today would be conduction, which is basically the transfer of heat by contact to the soil. I would like to relate it back to the soil heat flux, which would be the heat transferred from the surface to the soil layers below. I dug a little hole for a little representation, but basically as heat's transferred to the layers below in the soil, it's done mainly by conduction. So as the heat's up here, it's going to keep heating down and work its way through the soil, which would continue out the contact, and it works its way down via conduction. Third mode of heat transfer I'd like to talk to you about today would be convection. Now essentially convection would be the heat transferred by airflow or air movement. So here in Oklahoma, as a general rule, if you'll scope to the wheat there, we got a little bit of wind movement. In summertime, when you get about 110 degrees out here and you got that air blowing, it's like an oven almost. So that would be convection. It's the wind's moving that heat, right? Well, here in the garden, we like to combat the convection, or that transfer of heat by the air, with water from our subsurface drip that we have placed down below. We like to cool down the soil surface, but the main way we combat this is we like to fight it in the air with sprinklers. So we spray water which will cool. See, convection is cool and hot. See, it's a transfer. So we're transferring from the cold air of the water, or the coldness of the water, to the warmness of the air, rather. And I'd like to turn them on for you and give you just a little bit of a peek at what they do. So the main thing I'd like to point out here is we're now irrigating this whole garden. We got a good coverage on the whole garden. Last year we had flood irrigation in furrow. We dug the furrows and we flooded it. We decided we need to be a little more efficient, and we switched to a subsurface drip irrigation system. If you look, you can see our valve box down here. We'll turn that on, and if each one of these gets water due to capillary rise from beneath the plants themselves. We put the water right to the root zone without wasting it to a transpiration or evapotranspiration rather. And we still only use the sprinklers mainly to get the plants up in the very beginning, and we also use them whenever it gets hot. Like I was saying, we'll use it to cool down the canopies of the plants, because see, in the summer when it gets too hot, we get the drought stress or we get a heat stress due to the plants, and we can turn on these sprinklers and we can just cool down this area. And I'd like to make sure that we know that that's us combating the convection, the heat transfer from the wind, and we combat it with cool water, and that cools down the system, and it makes a thriving environment for our plants here in the garden. Enjoyed our talk today about the three modes of heat transfer. I hope I gave you some valuable information on the subject. Got a little wet from the sprinklers and trying to give you an up close and personal look at our operation here. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, get a hold of me in my email, or talk to Dr. Auctioner about it. Thank you.